So this morning's class, we're going to be starting sitting on the floor. So I'm going to use my block. We're going to take Sukhasana, but in reality, any easy sitting posture will do. We'll be holding this for about 6 minutes, and then we'll be moving into heroes, so onto our knees for another 4 minutes. So if you chose to sit on your knees at the beginning, you'd be there for quite a long time, just to let you know. And let's relax the shoulders down a little bit, loosen the jaw, have a little sway through the spine, wriggle around a little bit. See how that feels, especially if you've been stuck in a seat for a couple of hours this morning already. And finally, when you're ready, let yourself settle. So you can choose to have your hands, palms down on the thighs or palms up, or you can take a little bit of a hand mudra and bring your left hand in, palm facing up, thumb pointing out, and then lay the right hand on top. So fingers are sort of wrist to wrist in terms of their alignment. And if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes as well, soften the jaw. Slow the breath a little more. Let's open the eyes. I'm going to take myself into a gentle twist to my left. So bringing the right hand across the body. And you can either have the fingers on the floor behind you, or you can wrap your hand around. Start to bring your fingers of your left hand towards your right thigh. Release. And do the same to the opposite side. Just easing in. And then choosing where you want to take the hands. And release from there as well. We'll take a side bend to the left. So walk the hand out. It's when you start to feel your left your right buttock lifting off the ground is where you want to stop. Press the floor away and take the hand on the right up towards the sky. So the left hand is a decent distance away. And then we're going to fold the elbow down towards the floor. And keep the top arm pointing towards the sky. Try to let the head follow the natural arc of the spine, which may well be a guesstimate. And we'll press into the floor, come back up, and walk ourselves out to the other side again, just working to get a little bit of lift. That's far enough. Might not be the same distance on both sides. That's not a problem. And then we'll soften the elbow. Take ourselves in a little deeper. So trying to keep the opposite knee down, close to the ground. It's going to want to lift. So it gives us a little bit of opportunity to kind of stretch out and move in a different direction. Now we'll press into that hand, bring ourselves back up. We'll move from here into a hero's pose. So I'm going to use the block again. Knees come together. The block goes down towards the toes. And then we move the heels out a little bit. So as we come back, there's enough space for our bum to just drop down onto the block rather than our heels. Once we're here, we'll take the arms out nice and wide. Bring the left arm across and lock it into place. So we get a little stretch around the back of the shoulder. And then release from there. Take the arms back out, cross over the opposite side. So feeling that little bit of separation of shoulder blade from the ribs, space to breathe into. We're going to release from here and move just a little bit. So we can take the block out to the side, bring the heels back underneath the sitting bones, tuck the toes underneath, and sit gently back onto the heels. Getting a bit of a toe stretch in. I don't know if the microphone can pick up a dull rumble outside, but there's big lawnmowers trundling up and down the road. I kind of heard them about 40 minutes ago, getting closer and closer, and thought that's going to happen just as I start teaching. So apologies if you can hear it. It's not your microphone or my laptop playing up. It's actually real noise. We'll sit back down onto the toes. So we'll untuck them. As we do, we'll just take the knees out wide, sit onto the heels, and we're going to take cat's paws. So we're going to spread the fingers out, allow ourselves to take some weight down through the wrist directly through the shoulders, elbows. So we really want that to be a nice aligned over the top. Spreading the fingers out. Getting that little finger and thumb to be as far apart as we can. And then we'll turn the fingers out to the outer edge of the mat, thumbs facing forwards. See how that feels in the wrists and the forearms. Again, putting plenty of weight down. And then we'll take a final little twist and bring the fingers pointing towards us. You take the hands as far forward as you comfortably feel happy to do so, whilst still being able to keep the heel of the hand on the ground. If it's lifting, you've gone far enough. just slowly bring one hand at a time back and bring the hands up to the front of the mat for some cat-cow. So just lifting gently into that position, drawing the chest forwards, tailbone up towards the sky, belly in, shoulders back, nice and relaxed, and then tilt the pelvis and roll through the spine, let the head hang and press into the floor. You feel the middle back starting to stretch out a little bit, or any areas that are particularly tight, do get a nice stretch. And come back into a neutral position, where the spine feels slightly lifted. Tuck the toes of the right foot underneath and lengthen the leg out. I'm going to take the left hand away from the floor and lengthen that as well. And then press into the left shin as I draw the right foot away from the floor in line with the body. I want to flex the toes and feet towards me, spread them out a little bit. The heel pointing up towards the sky, belly drawn in. Now we'll bring the hands and knees back to the floor. Toes of the left leg, take that back, lengthen out the right arm. Keep yourself steady, press into the shin, lift the leg, try to avoid letting the spine arch down. Draw the abdominals in just a little bit. Remember the foot is flexed and lengthening out, so it's as straight as leg you can manage. And then bring the hands and the feet back down to the floor. Take child's pose. Just going to sit gently back down onto the heels. You can take the knees out a little wider if that feels comfortable, or keep them in that hip distance apart. And then we'll walk the hands directly forward. I'm going to keep walking the fingers further and further away, getting a bigger and bigger stretch under the armpits. Amaze yourself with how far you can actually stretch out. And then we'll slowly lift back up. And we're moving into our down dog territory. So nice and strong through the shoulders. Tuck the toes underneath. Press the hips back and up. Your down dog for the first one. So allow yourself to walk, trot, swing, stretch, twist, whatever feels good in down dog, including just being in down dog. Nice easy breathing. No gaps under the hands. Heels away from the floor, so there's a little bit of room to stretch and bounce. and then we'll come forwards gently from there, bringing the knees down to the floor. Take a little breath, and we're going to take a thread the needle. So I'm going to draw the left hand up towards the sky, float that underneath, drop the shoulder and ear down to the floor, and then once you feel comfortable, walk the right hand out directly in front of the mat. See how that feels in the neck and the shoulders, and if it feels comfortable, you can walk the hand over towards the left side, or if you wish, you can turn the palm up towards the sky. Take the hands towards the sky, wrap your hand around your back, and see if you can allow the fingers to find the thigh. So right hand finds left thigh. And then we'll slowly take that hand back up towards the sky, bring it to the floor. And as you're ready, press away from the ground and come back up. And then we'll take it to the opposite side. So the right arm comes up, floats under. Lengths off to just have a little wriggle, get comfy. Walk out the left hand. See how that feels. And then the two options you have: walking the hand over to the right side, keeping the arms straight as you can. That helps with the rotation of the body. Or just turning the palm up and taking the hand up towards the sky and slowly folding it round and bringing the fingers onto the front thigh. So one twist kind of just works on the shoulder. The other works on the rotation in the spine, just in the same way, and the shoulder traction. But this feels a little bit more supportive with the hand on the floor. Some people like their face to feel a little more open, a little easier to breathe. Some people like it the other way around. That's why we offer the two. And we'll release from there. Take that arm up if it's up, or bring it back if it was forwards. Press away from the ground and bring yourself back up onto all fours. We'll tuck the toes underneath into a loose kind of down dog, and just walking the fingers back in towards the toes. We come into a forward fold. And we'll bring the hands onto the shins to lift up halfway. Lengthen the spine out, fold down. The shins lifting up. Fold it in. And one more time. And we'll bring the hands onto the hips, roll the shoulders back a little bit, soften the knees to lift up, and shake it out as we walk up to the front of the mat. So take the arms up towards the sky on the breath in, through the heart, and exhale forwards, weight into the toes, belly drawn, thighs lift. And we'll take the right foot back into a nice big lunge. Drop the heel in, ready for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the body. Take that right arm forwards and lengthen our way up. Turn the palm on the front hand for reverse warrior. So fingers down the rear leg, so we get a nice big juicy bend. And slowly straighten the front leg. So the overall feeling is that that top arm can stretch a little closer towards the back of the mat. Soften the front knee, come back into our warrior two. Float the arms high, rotate, lengthen out. Bring the hands back down, spin the heel to the sky, step it in, forward fold, and then lift as we exhale. Nice and easy. Inhale up, hands through the heart. Exhale down. Left foot back. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body. Take that left arm forwards. Draw yourself up into your warrior two. Send palm on the front hand. Come into your reverse warrior. Allow yourself to walk slowly, the fingers down the back leg to find your sort of optimum position. And then slowly start to straighten the front leg with control. We need to do that, one, because it's quite a big ask on the muscles in the hip of that leg, groins, but also balance as well. It gives us time to load weight into the spine so we can decide whether that feels good as well. It gives us lots of opportunities to be aware of our body and move and change directions as we need. Okay, we'll come back into warrior two. You lift the hands high, rotate, lengthen out. Control the descent, take a little breath, step into the forward fold. Nice and deep, hands onto the hips and we'll lift up. Inhale high, hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Hands onto the shins to lift up halfway. Coming back down. Hands onto the shins. Folding back down. We'll do one more. Bring the hands onto the hips again, soften the knees just a fraction to lift up. Now we're going to take tree pose, so we'll bring the feet together, find a focus point, hands in towards the heart, shift the weight into the left leg, slide the right heel onto the left ankle as you turn the toes out to the right, let the knee follow. Keep the hips, chest pointing in the same direction as the standing foot. Bring that foot gently then onto the shin on the right side. And we're just going to hold it there. So we're going to take the kind of lower level of tree pose. Because for most of us, once we get a little bit of use to practice, we want to go for the higher version of tree, and we get so used to that that we forget how to do this. Bring the foot down. I fell out a little bit earlier than I wanted to, but that's the joy of talking whilst you're trying to do tree. And then we'll take the weight into the opposite leg, bring the heel up and turn the toes out. Take a moment, send your focus, spread those toes, get a good connection with the ground, and then slowly bring the foot onto that shin calf. Let's see how that feels. You might notice you have to work a little harder to keep your foot in place than you do when your heel is kind of more locked into the groin. It becomes a little easier then. Let ourselves release out of that as well. So a starter, maybe there's more to come, you never know. Come back to hip distance apart from the feet, draw the hands to the sky, hands into the heart, hinging back down to the floor. Now I'm going to step out in a lunge with the right leg. And I'm going to drop the back knee down onto the floor. Slide the left foot back all the way to the back of the mat. I'm going to take my left foot and just slide that over to the right side. So crossing completely as far out as I can to the side. And pressing out through the heel. So it's kind of like a gate pose, but reversed up. And slide the foot back again. Draw the knees back underneath me into tabletop and move slowly up into down dog. I'll draw the right knee in to lunge and step forwards. Hands onto the hips and slow lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart, exhaling down again. We're going to do the opposite side. So this time left foot steps back into the lunge. We hold for a moment. It's a proper lunge, pressing out through that back heel, straight leg. Shoulders relaxed back, chest lifted a little, belly drawn in. And we lower the back knee down to the floor. Slide the right foot back. When you're ready, we'll take the right foot over to the left as far as we can. Just slide in along the floor. Press out through the heel. Slide the foot back. Bring the knees back under for tabletop. Both toes tucked under for down dog. Then we'll draw the left knee in. So that's the second half of the lunge. Take a little breath. Press off the toes. Forward fold. Hands onto the hips. We lift up. Inhale high. Hands into the heart and exhale down to the floor. We'll take the right foot back into lunge and draw the left hand forwards up into a twist. Bring the hand back down to the floor, step it into forward fold. And as you exhale, hands onto the hips and lift up. Second side, inhale high. Hands into the heart, exhaling down. Left foot back into lunge, right arm forwards for the twist. The hand comes back down to the floor. We step it into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips and lift up. Inhale high. Hands through the heart to the floor. Right foot back into the lunge. Take a little breath. We're going to drop that knee down to the floor. Make sure your right hand is grounded. The boot laces are down on the foot. We'll spin the left foot out a little bit to the side. Allow ourselves to take the left hand up. Bring the hand onto the right buttock or the base of the spine, whatever feels easier. Draw that left shoulder over to the right side. Let the left knee hang out. You can roll out onto the side edge of the foot if you wish to. That feels good. Nice little lizard twist. Last breath. Inhale the hand high. Bring it to the floor. Spin the foot back in. Tap the toe on the back foot. Take a little breath. And step it in. Hands onto the hips. And lift up. Second side. Inhale high. Hand through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Left foot back. Drop the knee and tuck the toes. Plant your left hand. Spin your right toes out. Right arm lifts up. Rolls its way around. Find that happy space. Let the knee hang out. Remember, flexed front foot. We'll get there in a minute. Choose my words carefully. And let the knee hang out to the side. You can draw that right shoulder blade over to the left side. So I'm not really pressing into the hand behind me. I'm just using the sort of awareness of my body to direct my shoulder blade into a specific place. And we'll float up towards the sky, spin the foot back in, tuck the toe on the back, foot lunge, step it forwards, wrap it in nice and deep. Should be getting good at those. The spine and the hamstrings nicely warmed up now. Inhale high, hands through the heart, and exhale back down to the floor. Right foot back again. Allow yourself to drop the knee down to the floor. We're going to walk the fingertips back behind the heel to come into monkey flow. So we're going to slowly straighten the front leg, then flex the toes up towards the sky. Draw ourselves forwards, come right up onto the fingertips, lean into the front knee a little bit, and then move gently back. Try to traverse your body down the center line of the mat. Now, when I first came across this pose, I can remember distinctly that my body would waver around a lot. I could feel the weight shifting through the hands from one side to the other. And with time, a little bit of effort, 7 or 8 years later, felt much better. And we'll come forwards one more time. Bring the hands through, toe on the back, press off the heel, into the forward fold, hands onto those hips and lift up. So second side, inhale high, hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Left foot back into our lunge. Ease the knee down to the ground. Walk the fingers back. Take a little breath as you lift up. Exhale back, keeping the toes on the ground for as long as you can. And then start to flex the toes and ease yourself back. So as I do that, my heel in my body kind of travels an inch or two closer towards me. So as I come forwards, my knee bend is past the ankle and more towards the toes. Come forwards for the last time. Bring the hands forwards for the lunge. Step into our forward fold. Hands onto the hips and lift our way up. Just stepping up to the front of the mat as I travel back a little. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. And exhale down. Take the right leg back into lunge. Feels familiar. This time I'm going to walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat. I'll spend a moment here, just allow myself to walk the feet out a little more. Toes are slightly turned in, spine's long, belly drawn in a little bit. Just letting the groins get used to the idea of having this wide setting. And then on the exhale, I'll start to hinge from the hips, keeping the spine long and flat. Come down as low as you can manage. You can take a little bend in the knees, not a problem. Better than trying to press the knees back too much. I'll squeeze the thighs in a little bit. Get a sense of lifting the hips up towards the sky. It doesn't feel like the weight is bearing down quite so much. It's more of a lift. We'll slowly lift up. Move the fingers around to the long side, to the short. Facing the front of the mat, we step into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips and lift up. So the legs are starting to feel this now. Inhale high, hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor, left foot back into the lunge. We'll walk the fingers around, long side of the mat again. Take a little moment just to allow ourselves to get the feet into that happy place. And then this time we're going to take a little breath and turn the palms so the fingers are pointing underneath us to the opposite side of the mat. I'm going to walk the hands through and take them as far to the opposite side as we can. Hands are behind us. Hips are still lifting. And try and keep the spine nice and long. There's a tendency to get a very rounded back. We will round a little bit. Just try not to enhance that by pulling the body. We just wanted to let it hang down and see where it gets to. And we'll hands back again, underneath. Take a breath in as you come up onto the fingertips, and then walk the hands gently around to the front end of the mat. Step it in, fold, hands onto the hips, and lift ourselves up again. Inhale high, hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Right foot back into the lunge. Hands walk around to the long side of the mat. This time we're going to turn the toes out deliberately. Heels in. We'll walk the fingers towards the front of the mat. So we take a deep side bend into this front knee. I'm going to slowly take the toes of the back foot away from the floor, pivot on the heel, and sink ourselves down onto our left heel underneath our buttocks, and then bring the fingers in closer to the body. And try and draw the top of the thigh on the long leg in, lengthen the heel and the bottom side of the thigh out. And if you feel that you have the confidence and balance in the foot, ankle and knee that we're resting on, you might want to take the fingers away from the floor and bring your hands towards your heart. Now maybe you'll hold it for a second. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll keep the fingers on the floor. And then we're going to lift gently, but we're going to not lift terribly high. And we'll walk the fingers around to the other end. Do the same again. Gradually let the toes lift. Make sure we get that foot underneath our body nicely, so we're sitting on top of the sitting bone. Fingers come in a little closer. See how you feel through this groin and inner hamstring, into your adductors, toes pointing out towards the sky. You can take the balance if you wish, but if it doesn't feel right, it's fine to do it on one side, not the other, or not at all. Strange enough, this side I feel like I've got more balance, but I can feel the stretch in my hamstring far more on this side, and it doesn't feel like it's a good idea to lift. So that's why I'm keeping my fingers on the floor. I listen, practice what I preach. Okay, we're going to make our way to the front end of the mat again. Lift up. So some walk the fingers around to the long side, to the short side. Step it in. Hands onto the shins, lift up halfway. Fold it down. Onto the shins, halfway up. And down. Shins. And down. Let's sit back into a chair. The ribs and the thighs meet. Take the hands forwards and then drive through the legs to lift up. Back into Tadasana. Shake it all out a little bit. Now we're going to take another standing balance pose. It's called kite pose. I think we've all done it before, but I'm going to bring the hands in towards the heart. So it's a variation of tree. I'm going to take a little breath. We'll move through tree into kite. So I'm going to take the weight into the left leg. The right heel comes onto the ankle, the toes point out. I'm going to take a little breath. Bring the foot onto the side of the shin and the calf. And then pointing the toes away, I'm going to lengthen that leg out to the side. Now I want that foot to hover just off of the ground. So I'm going to play around a little bit, find the floor, just kind of bouncing into it and then lifting off, bouncing, lifting off, and trying to get the spine to be as long and upright as I can. And then to assist, I'll take the hands out into a little bit of a Y shape. So that's going to help with the balance. And try not to lean out to the side too much. As I said, I'm trying to keep the body as upright as I can. It recruits a lot of back muscle work into this. Doesn't matter if you bounce around, we're just trying to hover as close. The leg is engaged, lengthening out through the toes. And then bring the hands down and the feet back in. And shake out that left leg. Bring the toes together again, hands in towards the heart. So we'll just set up for the right side, take a little breath. Load the leg. Heel and ankle find each other, toes go out to the side. When you're ready, you lift the foot onto the side of the inner part of the lower leg. Once you feel comfortable, you take the leg out to the side. Into the toes. Again, just hovering. Trying to keep the body as upright as you can. Just playing around. And then when you're ready, take the hands to the sky. And then we'll bring that foot in as well. And shake that out. And back into our hip distance stance. Take the hands high on the breath in. through the heart and exhale down to the floor. And we're going to step back into tabletop and then swing the feet out to the side and allow the legs to come out as well. We'll be using our block shortly, but for the moment, we'll just have that out to the side as we sit in Dandasana. Draw the flesh a little bit as you wriggle from side to side. Hands out. And we're going to lengthen out through the heels and have the toes flex back. Draw the belly in. Really work on pressing the sitting bones into the floor. And take a little breath from there. Draw the heels in towards you. So the knees will need to make a little bit of space. And lean forwards and take hold of your big toes with your index finger and middle finger. You're going to lean back a little bit. So you're going to walk the feet back in a little more. Get the spine nice and long. And then finding your balance point, you're slowly going to take the legs back out to straight legs, hopefully. Long, flat back. Drawing the chest up, shoulders back. They kind of work as a pair. Feet are flexed. We're lengthening out through the heels. Just a few more breaths. And release as elegantly as we can. Sometimes it's more of a falling out process. We'll bring the block back underneath the bottom for some seated twists. Just lengthening out. I'm going to bring that left foot underneath, right foot over the top. Get the sitting bones on the floor, tilt the pelvis forwards. Lift that left hand up and rotate around. Release from here and take it into the second side. And we'll release from there. The legs back out. And we're going to take Janu Shasana. So you can stay on the block or you can roll yourself forwards, your choice. Feet come together, we sit up nice and tall. Heel comes in towards the groin. We try to get the knee down to the floor. So there is a little bit of effort going into that. Make sure that the hips are square and the front leg is pointing up towards the sky. And that sounds silly, but the leg can roll out to the side a little bit. You're going to put a bend into the knee, take a breath. You're going to press this right heel into the inner thigh as well, which is on the floor a lot easier to do. And then lift the spine up and fold forwards. Just see how far we can get to. Doesn't have to be deep. We're trying to keep it honest so that the spine is flat and long. Shoulders are easing back. Front foot is flexed towards us. Knee points down. Foot draws in. Hips are square. We'll release from here. Get the legs back out. Left foot comes back in. We take a little time to set ourselves up. Remember, a little bend in the front knee as well. When you're ready. Trying to keep all the component parts active. So as we come forwards, we have to be aware that we might need to turn the front leg internally. Keep the foot flexed, so we're looking for the big toe joint, little toe joint being a similar distance from the body. Try to keep the spine nice and long. The shoulders are relaxed and broad, so there's plenty of easy to breathe space to move into. For the inner thigh connection, pressing the heel in and then down on the outside edge. Hips stay square. If they've rolled around a little bit, then it's this right hip that moves back. And then we're ready to lift out of that as well. So I'm going to take the block behind me as we start to prepare for the end of our class. Roll the spine down, bring the head onto the block so it's not touching into the neck or the shoulders. Adjusting the pants a little bit, and then bringing the feet in nice and close towards the body. I'm going to draw the right knee in towards the chest, slide the left leg out, press out through the heel, and use a little bit of strength of arms to negotiate my right knee to my armpit on the same side. Release that foot. Bring the other leg slowly in, and we'll do the same. So ease it in first, slide the leg out, get a long stretch. Remember, still internally rotating, and then using the strength of the arm to draw that leg in. Slide the heels in. Knees high, take the arms out wide. Just take a little twist, letting the legs drop to the left. And draw the knees high. Roll over to the right. And a final lift. And a very brief walk into happy baby. So just taking the knees wide, sliding the hands into position, using the head back. Make sure the neck is nice and long. Chin is towards chest, tailbone towards floor. If your body wants to rock a little bit from side to side, let yourself go. It's what I would call a easy held, happy baby, where we're just being in the position. We're not really trying to push or pull or stretch ourselves into anything else other than what we really are. Release the feet slowly to the ground. And depending on how your back feels, if you feel like your hamstrings and your lower back have done a lot of work, take the feet wide and the knees high and close in. If your lower back feels fine, then you can take the legs out to the corner edges of the mat. Closing the eyes and letting the shoulders relax down. And you can move from these two positions in Shavasana as freely as you wish to. Begin to stretch those fingers and toes. Let the wrists and the ankles move around a little bit. Enjoy a big stretch. Draw the knees gently in towards the body. A simple hug, rock and roll from side to side, or some knee circles, whatever feels good, or maybe a bit of everything. And then we'll slowly roll onto our right side. Take a breath down there. And use our exhale to release back up to sitting. Draw ourselves into a comfy sitting posture. And gently bringing the hands in towards the heart as we close the eyes, taking a deeper breath. Letting the chin drop, letting the belly draw in. A simple bow to the floor to close our practice for the morning. Inhaling, let the breath build the spine. In the head, open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me for Dynamic Legs Day. See you on the mat again soon.